Well, I'm just back from Israel, where I had the pleasure of shepherding 350 wonderful people from all over America to see the land of the Bible, walk the steps of Jesus, and to experience this modern-day miracle of a nation, the state of Israel. Hard as it is to believe, their politics is maybe even more messy than ours. Now, there's a very divisive battle going on in the Israeli government over the role of their Supreme Court. As many as 100,000 protesters took to the streets while we were there, although we weren't affected by them at all. But with all the protest and rhetoric, there was no burning of police cars. There were no riots involving personal injuries. There was no torching of local businesses or mass looting. What a contrast to what we've seen in our own country the past few years, with cities like Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles, New York, our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and many others being the very battleground for setting fire to public buildings, setting fire to community grocery stores, and having bricks thrown at completely innocent bystanders, sometimes resulting in serious injury or even death. Here's some observations. First, Israel is the lone democracy in the Middle East, and they allow freedom of speech, protest, and vocal disagreement with the government. Now, try a protest in any of the Muslim-controlled countries in that region, be it Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, or Iran, and see if the government stands by with benign approval, or even worse, helplessness. I'll tell you, the crackdown on protesters by the government of those countries will be swift, effective, and brutal. The Israelis, they're as passionate about their politics and point of view as anyone on earth, but they are overwhelmingly civil. Secondly, when it comes to their national security, they are united. I mean, from the left to the right, they're totally on the same page to protect their borders and to be prepared to defend their homeland from attack. Out of sheer necessity, they realize that the anti-Semitic enemies from their neighborhood and all over the globe are always wanting to pounce and attempt to destroy this tiny little nation that has the physical footprint no bigger than the size of New Jersey. They can have their internal struggles, but when it comes to protecting their existential right of their very existence, they're unified and prepared. I envy them for their ability to recognize real threats to their way of life. They don't just patrol their borders, they control their borders. The thought that, yep, they do. The thought that millions of people would just illegally walk across their border and enter Israel and expect housing, medicine, food, and education is laughable to them. Now, they're a kind and generous people, but they aren't stupid, and they don't use their military as a woke playground to make sure that their defense forces are all about diversity, equity, and political correctness. No, over there, every male at the age of 18 is required to serve in the Army for 3 years. Every female is required to serve in the Army 2 years. They're wearing military uniforms and defending their country, while a lot of 18-year-olds in America are crying if we don't use their pronouns. I truly do worry for our country. I mean, but the signs of hope I see are parents showing up at school board meetings to demand that their children's curriculum focuses on actual skills of, things like reading and math, instead of the nonsense of little boys simply imagining themselves to be girls and playing in women's sports and undressing in the girls' locker rooms. But I also see hope in moments like what appears to be happening on college campuses, like the Asbury Revival, where young people who are sick, indeed sick of the emptiness of a godless culture, they're falling on their knees. But they're not on their knees to show contempt for the flag or the national anthem. They're on their knees to pray. I've heard some critics of Asbury who are somehow able to find fault with some things being said, but I got to tell you, I'm a lot less concerned that some college students might not do a spiritual awakening just as perfectly. I'm more worried that there would be no spiritual hunger at all on the campuses. I'm praying that what's happening at Asbury and these other campuses is a spiritual awakening that will shake college students and their campuses to be the breakthrough that our nation needs for leadership and a return to biblical norms of behavior and viewpoints. Thousands of students on their knees in prayer, it encourages me. Thousands looting, rioting, and committing acts of violence is what scares me for the future of my country and the hope for my grandchildren.
Hey, you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Since you're still here, let me share something with you. If you click on the subscribe button below, hit that notification bell next to it, and click the like button, you know what that's going to do? Virtually guarantee that you don't turn into an AOC fanatic. Do it now, before it's too late.